Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jeremy here at ExtremeWeatherTracker.com, updating your tropical weather at 12:15 p.m. on August the 27th, 2011. We want to discuss Tropical Storm Isaac today, who is borderline hurricane strength. Does look a bit more impressive on satellite imagery. You can see he has fairly good outflow. Most of the convection associated with Isaac is in the northern quadrant of the system. The south side needs to fill in a little bit more, but there is a CDO in place, and he does have a fairly well defined center. The hurricane hunters actually found an eye in Isaac today, although he hasn't been able to sustain it very well, but it was about a 26-mile wide ragged eye apparent to the hurricane hunters. The latest National Hurricane Center fix is here, as you can see with the tropical forecast points, but the hurricane hunters rather, the last fixed position they found was somewhere to the west of that location, and maybe to the west northwest just a little bit. So Isaac has continued to move on off. He had been moving in a northwest direction. It's kind of bending off to the west northwest, and that could be in response to the high pressure system over the eastern United States building a little bit more strongly than forecast, and pushing him off a little bit more to the west northwest. So we'll have to see if this trend continues or if it's just a wobble in his oscillation. So we need to watch this system very closely. Anyone from southeastern Texas all the way to the Mississippi, Alabama Panhandle, actually the Mississippi Alabama line here in the Florida Panhandle needs to watch this very closely, as you could be receiving impacts within 24 to 36 hours. You can see the National Hurricane Center's forecast track bringing Isaac up to Category 1 status and making landfall somewhere south of New Orleans. The models still have various spread and really haven't consolidated on an exact location, and I believe that's due to the timing of the trough and the strength of the high pressure system that could trap Isaac and bend him a little bit more to the west, especially depending on whether it bends him after he makes landfall or before. The National Hurricane Center's track still takes him off and actually recurves him up into the central United States. Now let's check out the National Hurricane Center's forecast track. You can see bringing Isaac up to hurricane strength within about 12 hours and then impacting just south of their cone, basically the center just south of New Orleans here on the southeastern Louisiana coastlines. Everyone from the Florida Panhandle over to central Louisiana is under hurricane warning, and also tropical storm watches are out all the way to Sabine Pass, Texas, from central Louisiana to Sabine Pass in southeastern Texas. So it should be noted that although the landfall location could be in southeastern Louisiana, great effects will be felt far away from the center of the storm, especially to the north and east, and also somewhat to the west. Effects could be felt, gusty winds, and especially storm surge in this area, probably 8 to 12 feet in some of these areas, especially in inland bays where the water can really pile up. Now, if you notice the hurricane points that the National Hurricane Center have placed on their graph here, it gets they've become very close together here, and it's indicating that they believe that Isaac will slow down significantly when it gets close to the coast, and this would probably be worst case scenario especially for storm surge and rainfall purposes. If the storm slows down, it would indeed allow water to pile up in this area along the coastline just to the east of wherever Isaac makes landfall. A track more to the west northwest is not out of the question into southwestern Louisiana and southeastern Texas. At this point, the National Hurricane Center does believe that Isaac will follow the center of their track, and also a track more to the northwest here into the Mississippi coastlines is also not out of a question. So anyone within the confines of the cone of uncertainty here definitely needs to pay attention and heed the warnings of your local officials. Most intensity models bring Isaac up to Category 1 status, but a Category 2 I believe is not out of the question. But since Isaac is such a large storm and has a very large wind field, the storm surge will probably be greater than the wind speeds would indicate. Now let's look at the model runs for Isaac. This is the latest models come out for 12Z. You can see initiating here and in fairly good agreement through about 12 hours, but thereafter, depending on the strength of the high and the trough that's currently moving through this area, The models are diverging in 400 to 500 miles span here, anywhere from southeast Texas all the way over to the Mississippi coastlines. So you can see how the models really don't have a good handle on it. This is a very tricky steering pattern when you have a trough here and then a building high, trying to basically trap Isaac underneath its influence and bend him back to the west after making landfall. But most models are in agreement that after Isaac makes landfall, he will bend back somewhat to the west and before getting pulled up to the northeast. But this could be very beneficial for the areas in the midwestern United States which have been drought stricken, and this could bring them some beneficial rainfall. But rainfall totals across much of Louisiana and Mississippi will be staggering. 15 to 20 inches not out of the question, especially if Isaac slows down somewhat at landfall. Also, storm surge along this area of the coastline in Louisiana will probably be in excess of 8 feet, especially, like I said earlier, in the inland bays, some of the waterways where the water can really pile up. So exact landfall locations still yet to be determined. If Isaac continues on a more west-northwest path, probably southwestern Louisiana rather, a more northwesterly path, and probably somewhere around New Orleans. But this is something we're going to have to watch very closely, as he looks like he's starting to ramp up a bit, and the water temperatures in this area are fairly warm, so you should have some especially some chance for intensification as he moves on off to the west-northwest. So we'll see if he can continue to hit the forecast points for the National Hurricane Center, or if he will indeed move more off to the west-northwest over the next 48 hours or so. We should see landfall somewhere around Wednesday night, somewhere around in there. So maybe as early as Wednesday morning, depending on how quickly Isaac moves. So this is something we'll have to watch very carefully. So anyone from southeastern Texas all the way to the Florida Panhandle, please be on your guard, as this could potentially impact your area. More than likely, impacts will be felt from southeast Texas, especially all the way through the Florida peninsula, which have been getting the feeder bands off of Isaac, and some of these could spawn tornadoes and severe weather. So everyone in this area is going to feel effects from Isaac, because he does have a broad circulation, probably not as much so on the western side, but here in southeast Texas probably could see some gusty winds and possibly some rain bands, maybe gusty winds to 30 miles per hour, possibly tropical storm force, depending on its exact landfall location. So this is something we'll have to be watching. So right now, landfall expected somewhere here southeastern Louisiana, but any wobble to the west or north could bring that that track more to the north, or actually more to the northeast or more to the northwest for an eventual landfall. So this is something we'll be watching. I'll probably be updating again this afternoon or this evening, and hurricane hunters are currently approaching the system to see if we actually have a hurricane forming here, actually have enough sustained winds to merit making Isaac a hurricane. So this is something we're going to have to watch. And anyone in these areas, if you have not made your preparations for your hurricane preparations, now is the time to do so, as Isaac should be starting to impact these coastal areas in the next 24 to 36 hours. So that's it for now. I will be updating later. I hope you guys have a great day.